What is happening, everybody? How are you guys doing? This is Rob of Rule of 2 Review. Welcome back to the channel, and today we are, of course, talking more E3. So today officially begins the 1-week countdown until Nintendo's E3 Direct. It is Tuesday, June 4th, and Nintendo's E3 Direct happens on Tuesday, June 11th. Which means with a 7-day countdown, it's time to get a little bit more focused and maybe prepare ourselves for what could actually happen. Of course, E3 actually begins officially the day before Nintendo's Direct, but obviously, since I focus mostly on Nintendo here on this channel, it's their Nintendo Direct that I wanted to really kind of discuss, even though a lot of the concepts that we're talking about today technically apply to all things E3, to all press conferences, all games and expectations. Whatever your favorite company is, maybe you're a bigger fan of the PlayStation or Xbox, which is fine because I love those as well. Whatever it is, I think it's good to maybe take some of these concepts and apply it to all things across the board. The main concept that I'm discussing here today is expectation. What our expectations should be for E3 as a whole. And when we come to Nintendo and their Nintendo Direct, of course, myself and most of you guys being huge Nintendo and Switch fans, what our expectations should be for Nintendo at E3. We've been through a rocky road when it comes to Nintendo at E3 over the years. There's been a couple of really fantastic, shining, amazing years and amazing presentations and press conferences that they've done. And there's also been more than a fair share of duds and disappointments. And that's why I thought it would be interesting to talk about this today. I think that's something we should all keep in our brains as we now prepare to watch Nintendo's E3 Direct in just 7 days, is that we should keep our expectations in check. Over the years, I think we've seen a lot of evidence that sometimes people let E3 hype get to their heads. And while I don't think being hyped for E3 is a dangerous or bad thing inherently, which is an important caveat to this whole thing, I do think that some people can take it too far. And it's a real shame, and I think that when people don't have like a normal perspective on what they should expect from any E3 presentation, and especially Nintendo's E3 presentations, then I think that sometimes things go off the rails. And if somebody goes into an E3 Direct and they want just these specific things to happen, or they believe every leak and rumor that might have come out before the show happened, they're going to get so upset when they don't see it happen that it's going to become this tirade, and it's going to become a situation where maybe they blame Nintendo for not giving them exactly what they wanted. And it's like, come on, that's not Nintendo's fault. They're not supposed to read just your mind. They have a lot of things to do to try to please a lot of people. One slightly good thing to happen out of this current situation this year is the fact that there really just hasn't been a whole lot of stuff coming out before E3. And, this is probably the slowest pre-E3 period I can remember in the last 5 to 10 years. There's been almost no leaks. There was a couple of leaks in the last day or two, but nothing even really earth-shattering. There's been very few leaks. There's been no real rumors. And the way I see it, that's not only just a good thing in general because it doesn't potentially spoil too many big surprises. I think it also means that most people's expectations might be a little bit more in check, and it might keep people from going in with too lofty goals into Nintendo's E3 Direct. I have to admit that it's definitely a sign of the times that I even felt like I had to make this video and discuss this topic, because I think so many of us know that if things go certain ways, we can expect a lot of people to start to rage and get upset and share these really nasty, horrible, mean opinions online simply because whatever happens at Nintendo's E3 Direct or their conference of choice won't go the way that they expect. And yes, without a lot of leaks and rumors, it does mean a lot of people might not have gotten too crazy of ideas in their head, but there's also a good chance that most people still are expecting some things to happen certain ways, and there's such a good chance that Nintendo won't deliver on them that they're going to blame Nintendo or whatever company for not doing it the right way. And that stuff just honestly drives me crazy. I mean, we can't expect Nintendo to know exactly what we want in our heads. If you go into Nintendo's E3 Direct any given year, or any company's press conference, any random Nintendo Direct throughout the year, and you think that Nintendo has to give you exactly the lineup of dreams and wishes in your head and your head alone to make it a good show, then you're kind of crazy, and I'm sure that's not most of you guys, so don't take it as a call out, but man, we've all seen the reactions online when things like this happen, and I think we know that there's plenty of people every time that go into these presentations thinking that way, thinking, oh, I want this perfect thing and this perfect thing and this perfect thing and this perfect thing. And when that doesn't happen, surprise, they get really upset, and it becomes this whole shitstorm of nonsense on the internet. And it's really depressing to me that people can look at things so narrowly and have such tunnel vision. It's like, even if Nintendo wanted to try to please everyone's wishes and dreams, let's not forget that you are one of 7 billion people on this planet. So expecting you to be the one person to guide all of the choices for Nintendo and their game development is just absolutely bonkers, you know? So I think that I should also add this clarifier, though, in the sense that, and I kind of already mentioned this too, what I'm not trying to say here is that simply being excited or having some dreams and wishes and desires is a bad thing, because I'm not saying that at all. Those are not bad things. It is normal and okay, if it can be handled properly, to be excited for E3 and to be excited for this E3 Direct. Like, I do expect a solid show from Nintendo for what it's worth. I think we're going to get some great surprises. We know we're going to get stuff about Fire Emblem and Animal Crossing that everyone's very excited for. I'm hoping for Astral Chain. I'm very much hoping for Bayonetta. And yeah, I'm hoping for a few surprises too. And I think that we're going to get a lot of that stuff. I think it's going to be just your normal version of a Nintendo E3 Direct. You know, they may or may not decide to drop a couple of huge, massive surprises. I tend to want to believe that we will see at least one massive surprise, so hey, that's really cool. I'm going into the show hoping for and semi-expecting a big surprise or two. I am, you guys, and I think that that's okay. And the reason is because I'm not hinging everything about Nintendo's E3 Direct on them doing that. And if they don't do it or give me something that I've kind of been hoping to see, I'm not going to blame them for being the worst ever and making the worst E3 ever, just because, like, I don't need just the perfect thing for me to be able to see an E3 Direct as a positive Direct. A perfect example is I've been talking about Metroid the last 3 weeks leading up to Nintendo's E3 Direct. I'm hoping for the Metroid Prime trilogy. I would love to see something like a Samus Returns port or a brand new 2D game that they've been keeping in their back pocket as a surprise. I want to see that happen. I think there's a semi kind of decent chance that they might. But if there is no Metroid next week at Nintendo's E3 Direct, that's fine. I'll be okay, provided the rest of the show is okay too. You know, if we go in the opposite direction, there is also a chance that they make an objectively bad show. I mean, I would argue that that's what 2015 was, you know? I think 2014 is one of the best shows they've ever done, but that following year in 2015, it was one of the worst shows they've ever done. So just like I'm saying it's okay to be excited for E3, to have hype, and to have some theories and some hopes, it's also possible that to acknowledge if they do drop the ball. And so, you know, the whole point of this is to say that a lot of different things can happen, and I think that if we just have our expectations in check, then we're just going to accept the show for what it is, which means if it's a decent to good show, we'll hopefully see it as a decent to good show. If it's an actually bad show, well then, yeah, it's going to be a bad show, and I think that we should talk about it and maybe call them out on it. You know, but it's about understanding the balance. It's about understanding your expectations. It's about understanding the standards that Nintendo should be hitting and applying that to what happens once it's over. It's easy for a lot of us to go into this E3 Direct next week and say, oh, they got to give us a Super Mario Galaxy collection, and they have to give us a new F-Zero game, and they have to give us a Kid Icarus game, and they have to give us Metroid Prime 4, 5, and 6 all at one time. Like, we can say that we want those things, and I know a lot of you guys out there, I mean, even me in some cases, want some of those things to happen. Sure, like, we love the big surprises and the big announcements. And again, full reminder, anything like that could happen, man. You never know what Nintendo's going to do, but they might also deliver just a standard Direct. And if they just nail out some of the stuff that we already know about, games I've already listed, Bayonetta, Animal Crossing, Pokemon, Luigi's Mansion, Fire Emblem, even if they just focus on those, doesn't that make for a good show? Because those are great looking games that we're all excited for, and getting more information about games we want to play is good. Like, if they just do that and they don't give a huge surprise, there's still a chance it's a really good show. And so my concern is that they do that. They give us a standard good show about games we already know about, and people lose their mind because Nintendo didn't give these great big megatons and give them every single thing that they wanted. you know? And like I said, you know, a reminder here that this truly does apply to E3 across the board. This is every year at E3. This is every show and conference and game at E3. You know, be excited, have wishes, have some theories and predictions, absolutely, but keep yourself in check. Be mature enough to want some things, but not be outright flamingly upset if it doesn't happen exactly your way, because that's just not how it works in the adult world. And E3 isn't about that. E3 is about pleasing a lot of people, for a lot of fans, for a lot of different companies, and a lot of different games. That's what it is. So as long as a couple of things go okay and they go the right way, then I think we could hopefully see it as a really good show. So that concludes my lecture for today. Yeah, that's kind of what I feel about this whole thing, you know. I know I joke about it being a lecture because I feel like I'm telling everyone how to feel, but I just think it's important for people to have a reminder about this stuff, because passions get really high around E3, and with Nintendo Directs in general, expectations sometimes go crazy, and I see a lot of evidence of people who are unable to handle their expectations and to compose themselves after the fact. And, you know, I expect a really solid show from Nintendo this year, but I don't necessarily expect a megaton. I don't think this will be a repeat of 2014 or 2004 or some of their other best years. I think it's just going to be a nice, solid show with some good stuff that should make everyone really excited. But that also means that I'm worried some people might also not like it and go too crazy with it. Because, you know, again, it's okay to even not like something. It's all about how you handle it. And we've just seen that people sometimes are bad at handling it. And I'm trying to get ahead of the internet reaction in case things get really toxic and bad afterwards. So, but hey, man, we're just going to have to see. I feel good about my expectations going into the show. So if things go awry, I'm just going to focus on what I liked and didn't like and discuss it in the way that I prefer to do it. And we'll just kind of call it at that. So, yeah, I mean, talk about E3 below. Talk about Nintendo's Direct below. I want to hear what you guys think. What are you expecting? How excited are you? And how prepared do you feel in case it turns out to not be the most incredible show ever? Are you going to be able to forgive Nintendo and allow them to do their thing? Or are you going to be ready to just crucify them and burn them at the stake, you know? Discuss your opinions, your theories, your expectations, your excitement below. 1 week to go till E3 Nintendo Direct. Holy crap, I cannot wait. What do you guys think? And this video's a wrap. Thanks, of course, as always, for tuning in, guys. This is Rob of Ro2R, and I'll catch you next time on another video.